that this is a long-term project, and we're committed to the long term, and we very much believe that we're going to figure it out.
Chelsea are in trouble. Despite spending over $1 billion, they find themselves mid-table in the league while losing a cup final to a bunch of teenagers. With almost as many losses as wins, with their big money signings looking like a shadow of themselves, Chelsea are in danger. So how does a club go from being European champions 2 years ago, spend a fortune on new players, but end up finding themselves mid-table 2 seasons in a row? Chelsea was one of the best clubs in the world for the past decade. They had won 2 Champions Leagues, 2 Europa Leagues, and 2 Premier League titles. How could anyone forget Drogba's late header to equalize against Bayern Munich?
What about that?
Followed by Drogba's winning penalty against Neuer to give Chelsea their first ever Champions League trophy. Seeing legend Roberto Di Matteo lift the Champions League trophy is an emotion that can't be put into words. Chelsea fans got to experience the same feeling again when Kai Havertz went past Ederson to score the game-winning goal in the 2021 Champions League final. Despite all the troubles and drama in that season, Chelsea was able to be one of the best sides we've ever seen in the world of football on the biggest stage. Chelsea fans felt the same happiness when Jose Mourinho came back for his second stint at Chelsea and won the Premier League in an incredible fashion, dominating all the other teams. The new signings that Mourinho had made all clicked, and Chelsea looked like one of the best sides in the world of football. That confidence continued in 2017 when Chelsea won the Premier League title under Antonio Conte, right after finishing 10th the season before. Then only 2 years later, Chelsea dominated their London rivals Arsenal in the finals of the Europa League. Yet in the form they are in right now, they would be lucky to get European football, let alone get back to competing for the Premier League title. It seems that Chelsea's years of instability and rash decisions have finally caught up with them. The one-off seasons had covered some of the cracks that had been forming at Chelsea. Cracks that could have been fixed if they had implemented a long-term strategy. Chelsea's spending wild amounts of money is crazy, but it's nothing new. In the early 2000s, the club was taken over by Russian billionaire Roman Abramovich,
turning the blue army of Chelsea into a red army, marching to a new tune, the tune of a little-known Russian billionaire.
Chelsea's initial rise was a result of Roman's crazy spending. As soon as Roman took over, he began signing the best of the best players in the world. The likes of Didier Drogba, Frank Lampard, Petr Cech, Michael Essien, Ashley Cole. These signing along with others formed the backbone for the Chelsea squad. The insane amount of money that was spent reshaped the landscape of English football. Chelsea became the team to beat, and Stamford Bridge was buzzing with excitement. But like all great things in life, everything must eventually come to an end. The key players from Chelsea's golden era began to age, and the new talents were struggling to fill their shoes. Eden Hazard is the last top-level attacker to actually elevate his game at Chelsea. The rest all disappointed after big money moves. Players like Werner, Havertz, Lukaku, Oscar all came with big price tags but never lived up to the hype. A theme that is very common in the last decade for Chelsea. Money was spent over and over again to cover up the cracks that Chelsea has never been able to stabilize. Despite having one of the best youth academies in the world, the young players were only given opportunities as a result of the transfer ban in 2021. Roman's belief that money can solve everything caused him to consistently go after the next big player. Sure, some of them worked out, but the majority of them never elevated the team. Chelsea didn't just get rid of players quickly, they did the same thing to managers. During the period of big signings not working out, Chelsea was going through the managerial merry-go-round. Roman was ruthless, sacking managers as soon as there was a dip in form.
Roberto Di Matteo has been sacked by Roman Abramovich after his side went down to a 3-0 defeat at Juventus, just months after winning the biggest prize of all.
Roman's era at Chelsea became a lack of stability. With managers coming in and out, each one with their own unique vision and style of play, it became a roller coaster ride for players and fans alike. First, they had Jose Mourinho, who brought immediate success in his initial stint at Chelsea. The special one delivered titles and excitement to Stamford Bridge.
I think I'm a special one.
Mourinho won 2 Premier League titles, an FA Cup, and 2 League Cups in his 3 seasons at the club, but ended up departing in 2007. According to sources, he was having disagreements with club owner Roman Abramovich. But he did rejoin Chelsea in 2013, winning another Premier League title and League Cup. But success came at a price. Mourinho's second stint was filled by conflicts and disappointing results, leading to his departure in 2015. The next manager to join Chelsea was Carlo Ancelotti, the cool and composed Italian. He guided Chelsea to a historic Premier League and FA Cup double in 2010. But in the unpredictable world of football, even the most beloved managers don't guarantee longevity. Then came Andre Villas-Boas, a young and ambitious manager. Expectations were high, but the results just didn't match the hype. The revolving door continued to spin as Chelsea welcomed interim managers, including the return of fan favorite Roberto Di Matteo. Even though Di Matteo won the Champions League in an unbelievable fashion, he couldn't provide the stability that Chelsea needed, becoming yet another manager that was sacked by Roman. In 2021, many Chelsea fans thought they had found their guy, the manager that would finally bring them some stability. Thomas Tuchel joined in January during troubling times again for Chelsea. Roman had sacked club legend Frank Lampard midway through the season. The German had a reputation for tactical brilliance and reviving struggling teams. He had just taken his former club PSG to their first ever Champions League final. His impact for Chelsea was immediate. He reorganized the team's defense, transitioning to a back five formation. He began to get more use out of players that were struggling before. Thiago Silva, Kai Havertz, Timo Werner, and N'Golo Kante all became rejuvenated in their new roles under Tuchel, and the team was firing on all cylinders. Despite Tuchel joining midway through the season, Chelsea secured a top 4 finish in the Premier League and reached the FA Cup final. But his most impressive achievement came when he was able to get the better of Pep Guardiola, helping Chelsea win the Champions League. Tuchel had led Chelsea back to the pinnacle of European football. The fans celebrated and Stamford Bridge was filled with renewed hope. Happy ending, right? No. There was a problem that Chelsea would have to deal with that nobody saw coming. Russia invading Ukraine was an event that shocked the world and Chelsea. The event ended up forcing Roman to sell the club to Todd Boehly, ending Abramovich's 19 years ownership of the club. Fans really liked Roman, and the club that they loved has now been transferred over to the hands of the American guy. Even though fans doubted Boehly, he had an immediate impact. It was just the worst impact possible. In typical Chelsea fashion, Boehly decided to sack Thomas Tuchel. It seemed that the Champions League win was a false hope. It looked like Tuchel had steered the ship, but the same old problems came back. Tuchel got sacked because he refused to be collaborative with ownership. Tuchel wanted to focus on coaching and spend a bit of time reviewing transfers, but Boehly had other plans. Boehly and the rest of management wanted their own guy as the manager. They felt that Tuchel was Roman's guy, and the easiest way to stamp your own authority on a new team is to get rid of the coach. The problem is Boehly picked the wrong guy. He replaced a Champions League winning coach with a guy who has no experience with big clubs and somebody who didn't even get a preseason with the team. Graham Potter was seen as a fantastic manager at Brighton, but that's because he had time to implement his system. At Chelsea, he was thrown into a no-win situation. Boehly was buying more players than me and Ultimate Team. So imagine pairing an inexperienced coach with a boatload of players from all different areas of the world, all speaking different languages and used to different styles of play. A lot of people blamed Graham Potter at the time, but it's obvious that the issue is much deeper than a managerial change, as even Potter's 2 replacements achieved the same results. Expecting the manager to instantly gel together 23 individuals into one unit is a task that requires time, something that every manager receives very little of. And then we have Pochettino. Cool. Everything that Chelsea has seen in the last 2 years is now on the shoulders of Mauricio Pochettino. Pochettino is finding this out the hard way, with Chelsea continuing to struggle with the same issues that have been persistent in the last 4 years. An inability to put the ball into the back of the net. It's actually crazy to think that after $1 billion, Chelsea still don't have a player that can put the ball into the back of the net. I'm not sure what's worse, spending $1 billion or the fact that this was all they got after spending that ludicrous amount of money. Even the biggest football fans in the world won't know half the players on this list. Despite spending all this money, Chelsea's performances continue to be subpar. In 5 games in February of 2023, Chelsea only scored 1 goal. In the entire year of 2023, they only have 6 wins. Chelsea have failed to score in 13 Premier League games this year, the most out of any team. It's the most times they have failed to score in a single year in the league since 1995. This is because Boehly's philosophy seems to be to sign young talents and develop them into world-class players. It's a good strategy, but just on paper. It doesn't work unless you have a proper system and senior players to guide the youth. Who are these Chelsea players going to look up to? The only senior figure in Chelsea's squad right now is 38-year-old Thiago Silva. Everyone else is a new addition, and all of them in their early 20s, so there's no one to guide them. For example, Chelsea overspent on Ukrainian talent Mudryk. Mikhailo Mudryk was a sought-after talent for many teams due to his flashes of brilliance and speed at Shakhtar Donetsk. Arsenal were in the race to sign him as well. The difference is Arsenal had a strategy, and as soon as Shakhtar asked for more money, they left the negotiations table. But Chelsea, on the other hand, just threw in more money, ending up paying 100 million euros for the 22-year-old. Mudryk had only played 32 games for Shakhtar. Many of his skills are still underdeveloped, yet Boli paid him as if he's already the best player in the world. Mudryk isn't the only problem. None of the attackers can score. Raheem Sterling has looked nowhere near as good as he was at Manchester City. Jackson is a promising striker on paper, but once again, he's not a player that's ready to score right away. This is why Chelsea continue to struggle to even beat the teams at the bottom of the league. There is no creativity, no system in place. What's worse is Boli has given all of these players 8-year contracts, something that is unheard of in the footballing world, meaning that even if they underperform, they're set for life. That ends up creating an atmosphere where the players that are joining are mercenaries, only caring about the money. There is no incentive for them to play better because they know they're getting paid regardless. It also makes it incredibly difficult to get rid of some of these players if they continue to underperform. Boli's entire master plan was to sell these players for a profit after developing them. But when every player looks worse after arriving at Chelsea, that strategy is never going to work. Chelsea is a prime example that money can't buy you success if it isn't spent wisely. $1 billion spent, yet Chelsea look worse than they did 2 years ago. Overpaying for potential has dug Chelsea into a hole that is very difficult to climb out from. The club is burning. Usually, instability wouldn't be an issue for Chelsea. I mean, after all, when they won the Champions League in 2012, they were 8th in the league. However, the poor form has been going on for way too long to think that it will change quickly. They finished 12th last season, having more losses than wins. Had it not been for Thomas Tuchel winning a few games before he was sacked, Chelsea would have been in a relegation battle. Their start this season has been a continuation of the poor form from last season and the season before that. They have had one of the easiest games, yet they find themselves 14th. With the fixtures only getting harder and harder from here, there is a very real possibility that Chelsea find themselves in the lower half of the table again. Chelsea's downfall is the complete opposite of what's happening to Liverpool. To see how Liverpool is flying high, check out this video right here.